Hi, I'm Greg Nutt, and welcome to The American Landscape. On this episode of The American Landscape, I'm heading north into California's Gold Country on Highway 99 through California's Central Valley. The museum is located outside of Marysville in Yuba County at 5865A Road, just about a mile and a half from the front gates of Beale Air Force Base, which, by the way, was my first duty station many years ago. Well, I'm already impressed by what I'm seeing on display outside this museum. Let's go inside and meet Dan Spear, the founder, director, and curator, and find out what he has in store for us here at the Museum of the Forgotten Warriors.
Welcome to the Museum of the Forgotten Warriors.
Well, thank you for having me, Dan.
You're very welcome.
It's nice to meet you.
And thank you for your service, and welcome home to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, what do you got here? It looks like there's a lot of memorabilia.
There is. There's a lot to see, and one thing that we really try and impress on people is it's not about war, it's about people. Each display is a personal tribute to everyone who served and to the individuals. That's why you'll see so many photographs of the fellas and the women who have been in the service, whether they were in World War II, Korea, Cold War. It doesn't matter. It's all about the people. And that's why everything is so personalized here.
So how'd you get started?
I had a passion when I was younger, and I got to go to a Flying Tigers reunion as a 10-year-old boy.
Wow.
And I sat with a lot of the aviators that were there that flew with the famous Flying Tigers in China. And it just kind of just mushroomed from there. And I always dreamed of having a museum. And my parents actually let me put glass case in our back room, and that's how it started. And there's, if you want to see, I can show you a picture.
Yeah, let's see that picture.
Yeah, and I used to be cute and little. Then both of them are out the door now, but that's me at 10 years old.
Wow,
With the very first one.
that's awesome.
So anyway, yeah, it was. It's been a long time.
That's great.
So it's been a dream for a long time. Well, Greg, this is our first one that we put up. We thought this was huge. It's only 18 by 24, and when we had the grand opening for it, we had to let 10 people in at one time, and as they came out.
Wow.
We had a brigadier general who did our speech out here and opened it, Vietnam veteran, and this whole building in this section was strictly to the Vietnam vets. That's my generation, and at that point in time, they weren't welcomed home. It was a kind of a nasty time in our history.
Yeah.
So I decided to go ahead and put this up here just to the Vietnam veterans.
And is everything in here authentic?
Yes. There are a few reproductions in the other building of Civil War uniforms, but everything in here, what you're seeing in this case right here, these are all captured enemy weaponry from the Vietnam War. And these are captured uniforms that the VC would wear, the NVA would wear, flags, and these are what they call home builds over here. And if you see, they would make these up in order to try and get a better weapon, as one of our guys were going down. This one's a water pipe with copper wire holding it on.
Oh, wow.
And that's what happened to some of them, like on the top one up there. It blew up on them.
Now, are the heights about the right height of
Yes,
these uniforms?
if you look at them right here,
Yeah.
it's just about the right size for them.
Wow.
And like this is Larry Bruckenstein, and he's wearing a helmet he captured in Cambodia in the picture. And so then we have it there, and that, again, it's very personalized that way.
Yes.
But that's what all these are. This is your NVA regular. This is your NVA Viet Cong, what they would be like our National Guard in a certain province area.
Okay.
Then you have the irregulars over here, which are the Viet Cong.
Okay.
The farmer by day. And then,
Soldier by night.
yes. And everything on him is homemade as well.
Okay.
They would make them up. So that's what this building started as.
Wow.
And then a lot of the vets came to me and said, we don't want to take and, not recognize all vets, because everybody had a dad who served in Korea, World War II, the Cold War, and can you open it up to all the wars? And I said, absolutely, we'll open it to all veterans.
Walking by, I noticed this ring, and Dan told me he had a great story. So it's right up there. What's that ring all about?
Well, it's a peace ring, because during the 60s, the peace movement was really going. And this fella here served in Vietnam. Tony Newman is his name. And while he was in country, you never got orders. He was on a Sheridan tank, which shows in the picture down below. And to backtrack a little bit, when he first got into country, there were a bunch of the guys coming home out of the 90th Replacement Battalion, where the older guys in their tour were going home, then newer guys were coming in. And one guy looked at him and says, "Hey, newbie." new guy to country. He said, this ring that I'm giving you right here is lucky. And Tony said, well, okay, whatever, and put it on.
Yeah.
Well, he was on the Sheridan, then he got orders cut to go into sniper school over there, which usually didn't have that happen. That was in the States. So he did, and as he was leaving, he threw his camera to the crew that was on their Sheridan. That day, the Sheridan went out, and they were taking pictures, hit a command detonated mine, killed everybody else on board. And to this day, and he'll argue with anybody, that ring saved his life.
So Dan, I saw this, what looks like a very old Marine?
Marine
Is that
Corps.
Marine? Okay. What's that story? I'm not real familiar with that uniform.
Well, it's early World War I, and Mr. Davis served in the Marine Corps. He was on the island of Guam. And I don't know if you're aware, because I didn't know this until I talked to his daughter who gave it to me, that was the first Marine Corps action, first Army action of any type, and the shots be fired in World War I. I always thought France
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Well, they were a detachment that was stationed on Guam. There was a German boat tied up there. Well, when the war was declared, they ran down to the boat, took it over, shots fired. So First World War, the actual first shots were fired on the island of Guam in the Pacific. And that's Mr. Davis's uniform. That was given to me by Edith Galbraith.
Wow.
And there's a letter talking about the action down there, and that's his World War I victory medal that they gave to him with a certificate. And I just thought it was, he never set foot in France, but I just thought it was a unique story.
Oh, it's amazing, and that
Yeah.
uniform is in
Very
spectacular
good.
shape.
Very good.
And then this woman next to him with the pink flight helmet,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting. What's her story?
Her name's Sandy Peterson. She was a nurse at Quang Tri in Vietnam during the war, and she worked in the operating room where they bring the dust-offs in. Well, her best friend Bob, who was actually killed over there, is in the picture above her head, and she said, well, they wanted her to go on the flights with them. She said, only if you teach me to fly. And she said, I'm going to do it. And he said, well, okay, what are they going to do, send me to Vietnam? So they took her up and let her fly, taught her how, let her fly, and then they had an award ceremony and gave her the pink flight helmet. And her call sign was DMZ Angel, which stands for Demilitarized Zone, because she flew over there. And it was a pretty unique thing to have. Women were not flying at that time. They were not allowed to, let alone in combat.
Right.
So, and then this is his flight suit that he had worn, and anyway, he was killed over there. And these are pictures taken at the Vietnam Memorial Wall from the niece of him. They got married at the wall, and that's the picture of them with their ring fingers on. And it says, remember the uncle they never knew.
This is a pretty, neat looking, or I don't mean neat, but well displayed uniform. Is there something significant about it?
It is. It belonged to Sergeant Clinton Evans, who was on a B-17. And his son, Brad, brought in his uniform. These are English-made patches from when they flew out of England. His boy Brad brought his dad in. He went and got him from the home that he was in, and brought him in here and showed him. And his dad was pretty bent over at the time, and he straightened up when he saw that and read the tag about what he had done. And his boy said, come on, let's go. Brad said, come on, Dad, let's go. And he said, son, you go do what you need to do. I'm still reminiscing.
Wow, so it's amazing he didn't even know his stuff was here.
No, his boy brought it in and then surprised him.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's really neat that he shared it with his boy, and his boy took the time to bring his dad back in.
Yeah.
Because then it's a family history that is not lost, and he's remembered.
What's all the vials?
The vials are filled with soil from battlefields around the world. We call it hallowed ground. And you can see like the tag there from Spotsylvania, Manassas, and then there's overseas soil as well. And I have them all labeled as where they come from. I pester everybody that goes to battlefields to see if they'll give me soil.
No, we just can't. I've been to Gettysburg and Vicksburg. You just can't go and take it with you, right?
Not at all.
How do you manage to do that then?
What I have done is when we went back there is I go to the park headquarters. and I tell the Rangers what I want to do, get the okay, and then they'll usually send a Ranger out with me. You'll see a big display in the other room like that, where they would go out and actually dig it, and they dig the dirt out, and a little baggie is all I need because I fill these up. So again, we call it hallowed ground because of the blood that was spilled on them.
Wow.
So it's a personal tribute, again, to everyone. Didn't matter which side, but everyone.
Wow.
So
I see you get some neat stuff about the Arizona here and some nice medals. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, go ahead and move on down the road here.
So what's the lay here?
Lay is pretty significant. When my wife and I were in Hawaii, of course, we had to go to Pearl Harbor because her uncle was on the Oklahoma when it capsized during the attack. So I went again to the National Park Service, and the Navy was there because it's still an operating Navy base. And I told them what I was trying to do here, and they said, okay, what is it you want? I said, just a jar of water if we could get some of the fuel that's coming out of the bulkheads, because it bubbles up and then it dissipates in the surface, so you can't get it. They sent a Navy dive team down and captured that and put it in peanut butter, and that's all the diesel fuel residue that's in there, the oil. And then there's the cover letter from them sending it to the Museum of the Forgotten Warriors care of me, and it's date stamped, and we call that holy water.
Wow.
Because
so
of what
did
it
you
means.
give them the empty peanut butter jar? Or they just chose that as the best thing?
They chose it because it's plastic.
Wow.
And it holds it up. So they sent it, and that's truly a unique piece because that's a tomb for the guys now.
Yes.
And they are actually taking some of the crew members that have passed away and taking them down inside the Arizona and putting them with their shipmates in urns. Yes.
Wow. Now I've noticed, just looking around where we've walked, you got a lot of like rusty gun pieces, but they're not cleaned up.
Right.
Why don't you restore them? What's the reasoning?
Because again, it's got the ground where they fought on.
Oh, okay.
It's all part of how they came out of the ground, because the relics that are dug up speak to me. Because you wonder if they could talk, what they went through. Okay, this is our dog tag display, and it represents those who gave their lives in Afghanistan and Iraq. Each one of the dog tags represents somebody who gave their life. They are not named. That way they're not ranked or gendered or branch specific, but each one represents someone who gave their life. And then the soil here in the center represents Iraq. The soil on the outside represents Afghanistan. And Beale came out with the Airman Leadership School, and they helped me with this. One of our board members, Austin Webb, he strung over 5,000 of these tags himself. Wow. Then the Beale kids came out, and we went to, because these are all in one chain, and we started putting these up, and they were wrapped all the way around the building and wouldn't let them touch the ground.
Wow.
And it was just an amazing day for them. And I had to add the benches in here, because I kept having folks come in and sit on the ground to reflect. This took me 9 months to go out in my head. I knew I wanted to do something, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And then one night, I kept getting up middle of the night, and one night I got up, and I said, this is what I want to try and do here. Wow. And I didn't know what was going to happen with the sounds. And my dog started howling one night. And I came out and heard that, and it put a hook in me. Because I've had people tell me when they're blowing, it sounds like they're talking to one another. Well, welcome to our big building here. Wow. And this one is we have wider aisles, and they go floor to ceiling in here. Wow. And this is a Navy Bell, 1955, off a ship, and everybody comes in and rings it. So if you'll do the honor, we had over 90 rings on it yesterday with the school kids.
All right. Wow. That's got a great tone.
Yes, it does.
That is really nice.
Wow. And see, it's cast into it where it says U.S. on it, and this is the original shipping box for it down there.
Wow, that's awesome. I like that you kept the box to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But you know, my eye is drawn to this hideous flight suit over here.
Yes.
This is, I have to say, this is ugly, and I can't believe this is a real flight suit. There's got to be a story behind this, because it just doesn't seem possible that somebody would wear that. What's the story?
Well, this is Lieutenant Colonel John Lowry's, and they were flying in Vietnam. Did over 100 missions there. He'd been in Korean War, actually shot down a MiG in Korea. And when they were there, they wanted to put these patches on their uniforms, their regular flight suits, because they called themselves the Yankee Air Pirates, which is this patch here. Well, their base commander said there's no way, that's regulation. So they all went down to the local tailor, had the most hideous polyester suits made you can have, bell bottoms no less,
Oh my God.
and they put these patches on, then would wear them into the O Club. And it just irritated the heck out of their base commander, but they all, you know, they were Yankee Air Pirates.
That's awesome, and that is super hideous.
It is.
So this looks like a suit from the Hurt Locker, but I'm sure it's not from the movie, but like that. Was this EOD?
Yes, explosive ordnance devices. And it is exactly what you saw in that movie. This is an original one. This is probably the hardest display I've ever had to put together in here. This young man was in the Air Force, and you see how highly decorated he was. Mm-hmm. He was killed in Afghanistan. Mm. Well, his father came in and talked to me and asked me if I would do a display on his boy. And so anyway, I said, you bet. And so I put it together, and then he came back and he said, is there any way we could get Beale to come out and do an honor guard and a ceremony? So I made some calls, got it together, and they came out. And this is the most emotional thing I've ever been through. When they saw it here, they had contacted the team members that were with him in Afghanistan when he died. They were here in their dress uniforms. And when they were done with the ceremony, opened the glass case, and they all took off their badges right off their uniform, affixed them to the bomb suit, and then signed it in memorial to Burris.
Wow.
And I mean, it was a tear-jerking emotional. The only thing that he had requested his father was, we have a display for the honor guard that's over here. He wanted him to be facing the honor guard. Oh. And that's why I have these two set up like that.
Wow. So this is all his stuff, all these uniforms,
these three uniforms
flag.
Here. Wow. That's his burial flag. Wow. And like he said, he wanted these to reside here. Wow. And he's buried in a national cemetery.
So I see here a little more modern, you know, compared to where we've been with some of the Vietnam and other things, a little modern. Now, wait, that name looks familiar. Is this your son?
That's my son.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He was in the 1st Cav Division. He was a Colt platoon leader, combat observation laser team.
Wow.
Specialized unit within the 1st Cav Division. And sorry, I get a little teary-eyed thinking about it. No, he got blowed up pretty good over there. They got hit with an IED. He had 5 Humvees shot out from under him. But he came home, and like we had just talked a minute ago, he joined in peacetime, and then, you know, what, 4 weeks later, 9/11 happened.
Wow. So
then next thing he knows, he's in Iraq. So, and they just had a reunion of all his team members here at the museum. They flew in from all over the states. But that is his uniform, and there's his Purple Heart on him, and some of his pictures and stuff. And this was his 2nd time over there. His 1st time he went over, he took and had what they call CGs, Civilian and Regular Defense Group, where it was some of the Iraqis that were operating with our guys. They were trying to train them. And he said that was pretty scary, because you didn't know, because they were behind you, and you just didn't know.
I've heard a lot of that from guys that have been over there on that.
But that's my son, Carson.
Awesome.
Very proud of him. He got out as a captain.
Nice. Now, what is this play? I mean, the name of the Hmong people, it sounds familiar. They were allies in Vietnam?
That's correct. They lived in Laos, and they were aligned with the United States. The United States sent special forces in to train them and equip them. And then they were contradicting on the trail, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and rescuing down pilots and operating relay stations for the planes. And this is a display all to them, and these are pictures showing them that they brought in. They approached me, because we have a large Hmong population here, and they approached me and asked me if I would put up a display to them, because they were our allies. They lost over 60,000 there.
Wow.
Yes, and I said I'd be honored to do it, and that's what this display is all about. These are some of their handmade instruments, one of the crossbows like they would have used, and gourds, and just that's one of their traditional outfits that the ladies would wear.
I was going to ask you, did they fight that way, or was that just traditional?
That's traditional. That was for like ceremonies.
Wow. And these are the same folks that are represented in the movie Gran Torino, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The one where she's chewing beetle nut and spitting it out. Yes, that's what they are. Wow. They're a really unique bunch. And they told me when we put this display up that this is the only display they know of in the country dedicated directly to the Hmong involvement in the Vietnam War. And we had a big function out here. We had over 400 Hmongs that came to it, all over the state, some from back east, and they had dignitaries speaking. Beale Honor Guard supplied the honor guard, and they had a parachute drop out here.
Wow.
Hmong dropped right in the middle out here.
Ah, that's awesome.
So it's a tribute to them as well. Again, this is all about people.
Yes. So. Now, I recognize this because I was at Beale when SR-71s were still there, and that's a canopy from an SR-71, right?
That's correct. It's an original canopy, and they would fly them out at Beale. Beale was unique. It was the home base for the SRs, as you know, and it was known as the Blackbird. We still don't know what the classified speed was. It set its record going from New York to London, and that's the speed trophy that was given to the crew members.
Oh, wow.
And I met the pilot and got him to sign the trophy. And all these signatures that are on here are from anybody who worked on the program, from the RSOs, the pilots, the crew chiefs, and that. I took this to the reunion. Don Schrader, he's one of our board members, and we took it up there to their SR-71 reunion, and these guys loved it. Everyone was getting on the table and crawling up in it, underneath it, to see how it looked, and then they all signed it. Like, there's Tony Bavacqua, 6673 pilot, Brian Schul, sled driver, and it's just a really unique piece for this area.
So where's the rest of it?
I wish I had the rest of it.
How'd you get just that piece of it?
This one piece here had been in one of the shops out there, and Sergeant Anthony was watching it until it got what they call demilled. So then they get it off their inventory. And then he called me and said, "We got it." And I said, "Right on." So he came out, brought several airmen with him, and we unloaded it here and put it on display.
It was probably saved from one of the crashes or something?
One of the crashes. That's what everybody figures. It was off one of the crashes, because there weren't that many of these planes in the air.
No.
And it means a lot to a lot of these folks, and especially when they're signing it there.
Yeah.
That puts their imprint on it again. Because everyone that worked in that program was so proud of that work, because this was so dynamic for its time.
It's an iconic aircraft.
It is.
That is awesome that you have that.
Yeah, we're very, very fortunate to have this piece. There have been several other museums that are trying to get it, and they can't have it. I say they're welcome to come out and look at it, but that's about it, Wow. I wanted to really finish up with this last display here. It's kind of encapsulates what this museum stands for. This is from the 4-star general who was in charge of all the troops in Iraq. When they were closing it down, the headquarters there, that's their logo from the Components Command, he and his assistant, which is a 2-star, sent me these pictures and plaques. And General Austin, he made this plaque up. That's a picture of him with 2 of the coins. They're a lot bigger coin than what you've given me, because he was the general, I guess. But what he said on this plaque really tells what the mission I've tried to get done through the museum is. It says, "To the Forgotten Warriors Museum, thank you for keeping the spirit and memory of our nation's warriors alive for all to admire, respect, and never forget. General Lloyd Austin, United States Forces, Iraq Commanding."
Wow.
Yes,
that's amazing.
And that was sent to me from him directly.
And how did he find out about you?
He heard about it from airmen that had been here at Beale, and then went over into his command.
That's amazing. It's amazing with the word of mouth that you're getting here, and this is awesome. That is very poignant, and everything you've told me on and off camera about what the museum is about really hits kind of hits home there.
Yep.
So that is awesome.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you for your time here. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for opening your place to us. We'll be telling all my veteran friends about this, and I hope we can return sometime.
Please do. It's free of charge to come here. Anybody can come in, and we always welcome everybody.
Great, thank you.
While editing this episode, I was contacted and told that Dan had passed away. In fact, he had entered the hospital the day after our last day of filming. I was already considering breaking the show's 3-location format because how affected I was by Dan and what he had accomplished at the museum. Though I only had met Dan 3 times in person and exchanged only a few emails, the news of Dan's passing affected me deeply. His sincere approach to safeguarding the memories of those who served is unparalleled. He will be missed, remembered, but never forgotten. Godspeed, Dan Spear.
My wife is my rock here. Her name's Roberta, and she's put up with me here and all of this. We have groups all the time out here. And what other wife would allow you to have helicopters and tanks in your front yard?
That's true.
I mean, seriously. And then this is the reproduction here of the original plaque that's still on the original flagpole around there. When I told you it was about the Vietnam War. And if I can, I'd like to read this to you because it's very important. It says, honoring Vietnam veterans, the dispute over whether the war was right or wrong, whether it was winnable, is not ours to answer. With this plaque and the raising of the American flag today, we are honoring all Vietnam veterans who during such troubled times gave so unselfishly. The Museum of the Forgotten Warriors is dedicated to you, the veterans, in tribute of your service to this country, lest you not be forgotten. I, along with the citizens of the United States, want to thank you one and all. Dan Spear, Curator, January 5th, 1985. And that meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to the guys.
Well, thank you for that. That's amazing. The whole place is amazing.
Well, thank you. Like I say, just remember, it's about people.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, there's no way you could forget that once you get in there.